and you wonder why it is that everybody in the sports world at this moment in time is calling you a hypocrite.
Obviously, he didn't win the game.
Great performance, Josh.
But there were so many reasons they lost, and
Josh,
none of them are him.
You said the same thing about Elway, about Peyton Manning. Eventually,
Josh,
he's going to land the hook.
I'm going to have to bring the jersey over here.
Smoke your stats.
Tom Brady did it time and time again. Josh Allen just showed he did it. Lamar Jackson, not as much, but coming closer, right? Mark Andrews, perfect pass. Look, Mark Andrews catches that pass 101 times out of 100. He just dropped it that time. It's just unreal. But we cannot flip-flop. We got to call it like we see it. And I wish more people would do it. Well, I wish more people would be real with it. But I guess that's not what the R in RC really stands for.
Okay, guys, before we talk about Ryan Clark, a few things need to go ahead and be gotten out of the way. First and foremost, I wanted to get this video out yesterday, but I've been under the weather the past couple of days, and I just don't think it's a good idea to do these videos with a throat that's kind of clogged up, sore. I'm still feeling some after effects now. Weather's kind of bad where I'm at, but then again, at the same time, though, it's also kind of pretty outside as well, so there is that there. Number two, and this one right here is... I kind of wanted to divide this one right here up into two takes, and the reason why is because I think that Ryan Clark, Josh Allen, backlash, and of course, this video right here is asking the question if Ryan Clark's bias shifted people away from Lamar Jackson for a night, or could possibly shift him away from, or shift the popularity away from Lamar going forward. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and kind of spoil it right now by saying, no, I don't think that that's going to happen, but still it needs to be explored. And also to go on top of that, this recent beef with Marcellus Wiley, this right needs to be divided into two takes. So go ahead and expect a follow-up take to this one right here a little bit later on today. With that right there out of the way, now let's go ahead and get to this. And one more thing, I forgot to bring this up. There's going to be a couple of updates at the very end of the video because we're going to be talking a little bit about next week. But of course, the same updates in the end of this video right here are going to be in the second video as well. So just go ahead and know the updates are probably going to come up twice. If you missed them before, you'll definitely get them in the second video. Also, make sure you guys please cut the notifications on. Please also at the same time, please hit the like button so that way the video will go up the algorithm. Also, you guys can follow me on Facebook. You guys can follow me on X. And let's go ahead and get to this. So what happened this past Sunday night? Yes, I know it's been this past Sunday night. It's been about 5 days now. The Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens play in the AFC divisional round. Buffalo wins. There's been this conversation about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson when it comes to the topic of who is the most valuable player. I did do a video on that where I talked about ESPN having a Ryan Clark problem, and that even though if Ryan Clark raises a legitimate argument, it was still going to be questioned because of his past history of race baiting. Now, some people took that video and went ahead and thought to themselves, this guy right here is just going to come out here and attack Lamar Jackson, when that right there is not the case. As you guys can see right here in the B-roll footage, I have some of Lamar's post-game press conference playing in the B-roll footage, and I want you guys to know right now that I've always liked Lamar, especially as a person. I can tell you right now he was definitely a much, much better person than the mobile quarterback that they have at working at ESPN right now, who literally dresses up like my grandma Marie. Speaking of that there, quick little story to kind of give you guys how it is that I came to this thinking. When the Carolina Panthers drafted Cam Newton, if you guys remember correctly, he was like the first pick of the draft. Auburn had just won the national championship game. I think he was the first or the second. It became between him and Von Miller. Cam, his first game as a Panther. And by the way, I'm not a Panther fan. I'm a Packers fan. But still, though, I live in the state where the Panthers are at. And, of course, you're going to be around Panther fans. So, therefore, you're obviously going to get some of the stuff in your social media from their press conferences. And one of the things that Cam said was, I had a good game, but the rest of the team did not. Now, it would be unfair to look at Cam Newton's entire history in North Carolina based on that there. But contrast that with what Lamar Jackson said when first asked about being the quarterback of the Ravens, or when he was named the starting quarterback. Lamar's exact words were, "It's our team." That right there is a whole hell of a lot better than hearing some quarterback say, I had a good game, but the rest of the team did not. And by the way, if you're a Panthers fan, you probably remember Cam Newton crying and whining for the next 2 years in each and every single press conference until the Panthers would eventually get to the Super Bowl. Now, of course, there were some good things with Cam, which, of course, included him injuring himself and coming back and playing off the injury. Showed a lot of toughness, showed a lot of grit. Of course, there's also that 2015 season. But of course, that 2015 season, the Super Bowl, also turned a lot of people away from Cam Newton, and for good reason. But then again, at the same time, I also defended him a lot more than attacked him at that time, so I guess we're even. The fact of the matter is that Lamar Jackson is very, very much a likable quarterback, and of course, he should be a likable quarterback, as Jason Whitlock explained here.
To wash out the race clowns who tried to turn Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson into a race war. And the race clowns have interfered with those of us that just want to enjoy Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And the race clowns, I'm primarily talking about, not primarily, but I'm primarily talking about the guys on ESPN, and I'm primarily talking about the leader of the race clowns. He wears that big RC brooch on his jackets. The race clown, Ryan Clark. He nearly ruined a magical football game for a lot of people. I don't think people can properly appreciate Lamar Jackson because they've been baited into the race war that the race clowns want us evaluating all of sports. He's really talented. He's playing at a high level, and people are rooting against him because they don't want to hear Ryan Clark come on TV and wag his finger and tell, oh, it's the black quarterback, this, the black. When
Okay, now you obviously contrast that with the very beginning of the video, and a lot of people are calling out Ryan Clark for some of his previous takes on Josh Allen. His hatred, which of course is what we're going to be exploring over the course of this video here. So now that we've gotten all the specifics out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the actual meat of this video. So the minute the game ended, Ryan Clark sent this tweet out. Great job, 8. You got nothing to be ashamed of. You came out. You balled out. I'm not reading it verbatim. You guys know how I am. I typically tend to paraphrase the tweets. You're going to be seeing a lot of that in video number 2. Buffalo Bills fans were very, very quick to remind Ryan Clark of a couple of instances where Ryan Clark showed just outright discontent and hatred towards Josh Allen, which we'll cover here in a second. But Ryan Clark released this bit on his Pivot podcast. He also released this little bit on his Twitter feed. And a lot of people were very, very quick to point out exactly how sad it sounded. Now, guys, I'm probably going to play some of that a little bit later on in the video to kind of assert the points a little bit further. But you can also expect it in video number 2, especially when we talk about Marcellus Wiley. Because if you guys caught at the very, very beginning of the video, this right here seems to suggest, or this video right here seems to suggest there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to Ryan Clark and his ability or inability to call it down the middle. Meaning that the man is so daggone biased that there were, in fact, people in the comment section of prominent sports personalities or former prominent sports personalities saying, yeah, I would kind of like to see Josh Allen win this football game because, the nut-hugging of Lamar Jackson by Ryan Clark is just turning me away from Lamar, even though a lot of people, like myself, who can call it down the middle, can still like Lamar and say that they just got to be beat by a better team. By the way, that right there will also come up in conversation as well because this right is a team game, not an individual game. But let's go ahead and get to some of the hate. One of the first clips that was shared about Ryan Clark's past when it comes to the topic of Josh Allen was this one here.
Quarterback is Jalen Hurts. If you're asking me who the more successful quarterback is, it's Jalen Hurts. If you're asking me who the quarterback is that I can rely on more, that I believe that is more consistent, who I count on more in the biggest moments against the biggest teams in the best games, it's Jalen Hurts. Those things are not a conversation. Those things are a part of resume. Those things are a part of...
Jalen Hurts, in your mind, is better than Josh Allen. Okay. Jalen Hurts, mobile quarterback. Of course, he's been to a Super Bowl. But I can also remember Philadelphia having problems with that offense 2 years ago. And I can also remember Philadelphia having problems getting it going in the game against Green Bay the other day. Now, that's not something to suggest that Jalen Hurts sucks. It may just suggest that the team had a hard time getting it going. It happens in football. I mean, my God, I don't know how many times my team had a hard time getting it going, but yet we always found a way to blame the quarterback for all the problems. By the way, you'll hear me say this one more time. The quarterback can carry you, but only so far. You got to win these games as a team. Yes, quarterback performance is very, very important, and this right will be coming up a little bit later on. But still, though, the point is this right here. This right here looks a little bit like... let's just say discontent for one person, maybe based upon, I don't know, something that people are accusing Ryan Clark of being, a race clown rather than it is of one's ability. So here's the segment that actually went viral across the platform known as Twitter, that was once at one time known as Twitter, the one that people threw out there. And I want you guys to listen to the very end of it, which, of course, I'll be playing again for you guys because I had to edit this and put it together because we're using Ryan Clark's voice, and we're not just using Ryan Clark's voice, his words, we're also using how he says them because, let's be honest, it's how you say it, which is more important than what you actually say. But let's roll this.
Do that. Don't you start playing word games, right?
Well, then
try
what
to say like Josh not doing enough is me saying it's Josh's fault. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm saying Josh played well. Josh did his job. We don't make people all-time greats for doing their job. Hell, I did my job. I ain't Troy Polamalu. Because you know what? When it was time to beat the Baltimore Ravens in 2008, Troy got the pick. I blocked. There's a reason that people are looked at differently. I think Josh does a great job. That doesn't mean Josh has been great when his team has needed him to be great.
Now, real quick, all that was in reference to the Bills losing to the Chiefs, which they normally do. It's always a very good, close game. And, of course, they'll be playing them again this weekend, the AFC Championship game. But, of course, the conversation, for the most part, is about, did Josh Allen do enough to get his team over? Let me just go ahead and say this right now. Quarterbacks could get your team where they need to be, but they normally aren't the thing that gets you over. Sometimes it happens, but for the most part in the playoffs, it comes down to the team aspect. Yes, quarterbacks can decide a game, but still, for the most part, quarterbacks can only get you to a certain part. The team itself has got to get themselves over, not the quarterback. I just figured I'd point that out before we go any further. And yes, this right here will come up a little bit later on the video because I have to give you guys a couple of examples that Ryan Clark clearly likes to admit because Ryan Clark, for whatever reason, doesn't want to dig into the annals of NFL history. And given the fact that it is the Bills we're having a conversation about, there's a lot to work with there, as I will show you guys in a second. But let's continue.
A ton of Super Bowls. Joe Burrow going to a Super Bowl and Lamar Jackson going to a Super Bowl. Right? What we never do is come in here, oh my gosh, Lamar wasn't helped by anybody. Poor Lamar, poor Lamar. No, it's Lamar got to win. Lamar got to figure out a way. This season, Patrick got to figure out a way. Patrick got to make these guys around him better. They're dropping the ball, but this team shouldn't look like this. Oh, why is Patrick freaking out? Guess what Patrick has done? He righted the ship. Josh Allen had a chance. It's fine to come in here and say that he played great, but he didn't do enough, because that's the truth. He didn't do enough.
Where we disagree, because I do believe
the game. Obviously, he didn't win the game.
Great performance, Josh.
But there were so many reasons they lost.
Hey, Josh,
none of them are him.
You said the same thing about Elway, about Peyton Manning. Eventually,
Josh,
he's
take that
going to
home and
land
smoke it.
the
I'm going to
hook.
have to bring the jersey over here.
smoke your stats at your house.
Let's listen to that last part one more time.
Great performance, Josh.
But there were so many reasons they lost.
Hey, Josh,
none of them are him.
You said the same thing about Elway, about Peyton Manning. Eventually,
Josh,
he's
take
going
that
to
home and
land the
smoke it.
I'm going to
hook.
have to bring the jersey over here.
Smoke your stats at your house.
Wow. Just wow. The level of condescension there. The level of condescension. The level of discontent for a person. You trashed this guy's performance. Denigrated it. But then at the very end you say, oh, great performance, Josh. Smoke your stacks too. This right here is a guy who has got a lot, and I mean a lot of discontent in his system. A lot. You can tell. All right? Now, guys, real quick, I'm not saying this to be pro Josh Allen. I am not a Buffalo Bills fan. If you watched any of my previous videos, you will know that I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. But at the same time, though, I also remember having to argue against ESPN because every time the Packers would lose, they'd find a way to blame Rodgers for the issue rather than looking at other things. Case in point, for example, the game against San Francisco a couple of years ago where we lost the divisional round, we had possibly one of the worst special teams units in the NFL. Maury Straight looked like an absolute crackhead, and it was ultimately our special teams that cost us that game. Oh, wait, but Aaron Rodgers performed like crap that game. Yes, that right there is true, but I also remember Aaron Jones breaking away and then failing to break away and slowing down on what would have been an easy touchdown. I also remember at the end of the game, and a lot of people forget to tell you this, that game could have been decided, which, by the way, it was decided by a field goal, but it could have missed because if Matt LaFleur actually had a brain in his head. By the way, Packers fans have figured out that Matt LaFleur is not the good coach they thought he was. He had a timeout in his pocket. It was snowing that day in Lambeau. He could have iced the kicker. Kick could have actually missed, could have actually saved us. Got us overtime, could have won there. Also, one more thing, too. Why in the world do you bench Josh Nijman, the guy who's been playing left tackle all year, for this game in favor of Bill Turner, a guy who absolutely sucked at his job? With Nick Bosa coming back off injury and Josh Nijman having played against Nick Bosa in Week 3 earlier that year, containing him in San Francisco. It seems to me like these games are, for the most part, decided not on one single play. And I'll even give you guys a great example, which, by the way, does coincidentally involve the Bills, the Chiefs, and Tom Brady. So if you guys remember correctly, back in 2021, there was a Super Bowl. That Super Bowl was held in Tampa. It was the COVID Bowl. Not everybody could travel, and a lot of people immediately began to start saying, you know what, man, I think this sport may be rigged. Maybe this sport may be fixed. It's a different conversation altogether. Well, it was a conversation that was had on the phone, and of course that conversation was held between Tampa Bay Buccaneer, NFL Super Bowl MVP Dwight Smith. He's a part of the Super Bowl team that won against the Raiders. So what ended up happening is that the conversation turns to Tom Brady, and he says, and I'll link the conversation in the description box for you guys. He says something along the lines of, best of luck to you. And Tampa Bay, being excited that they have the GOAT there, they say something along the lines of, well, what do you mean? And Dwight Smith says, well, I said best of luck because I see a lot of kickers winning it for Tom. The commentary crew immediately shot back with, well, he put him in position to win. And Dwight Smith said, so did Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was referencing the Super Bowl between the Tampa Bay, he was referencing the Super Bowl in Tampa in 1991, the Super Bowl between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants. The Bills, by the way, lost that Super Bowl to the Giants, who were starting Jeff Hostetler instead of Phil Simms. The game could have been decided if on the safety play earlier in the game, if the ball had been knocked out of Jeff Hostetler's hands. That right there could have resulted in there not being a safety. And, of course, Buffalo could have had a 19-18 win. It could have been closing out the game. I'm just simply saying that there's a lot more that decided the game or could have decided the game rather than the missed field goal from Scott Norwood. You see, guys, one play never decides the outcome of a game. I'm just pointing that out there, and of course it needs to be said that oftentimes it's multiple things that decide the outcome of a game. Something that Minnesota Vikings fans have obviously not learned in their two losses where the kicker, their two big losses where the kicker missed, that right there being Blair Walsh and Garrett Anderson. And they seem to not understand that you lost the game earlier. It wasn't the kick that costed you the game. My God, I have to let Bears fans know that the double doink is not what lost you that game against Philadelphia. It was your overall putrid offensive performance against the Eagles that year. That right there is what really and truly lost you that game. But once again, though, here we are coming out here saying that this quarterback here obviously did not do enough, and people are obviously questioning Ryan Clark's credibility. It seems to me like one person's being put on a pedestal and another person's being brought down. Look, if a guy does a great job, you give him praise. Okay, that's the way things are. That's how it normally works in the NFL. But then again, at the same time, you can also go crazy with said praise. Like, for example, in the case of Tom Brady, we always call him the greatest of all time. But I kind of agree with Dwight Smith when he said, I see a lot of kickers winning it for Tom. I also see Tom most of the time hitting the check down more than the quote-unquote great quarterbacks doing, which is something that I think that a lot of quarterbacks should do. Tom's just simply doing what a lot of people should actually do. I mean, as a Packers fan, I have no idea how many times I damn near lost my freaking mind watching Brett Favre as a kid throwing the triple coverage or Aaron Rodgers saying, you know what, I'm just not going to hit the check down. Tom just simply did what other quarterbacks refuse to do, and that right there is the real reason why it is he's considered to be great. By the way, the two previous names I mentioned will go into Canton, and of course they're also great themselves. I'm just simply saying that the mindsets are a little bit different. The thing about this situation here, though, is that it goes back to the whole question, did Ryan Clark make Lamar Jackson less popular? Well, let's get back to Whitlock.
I don't know this for myself. And so I can only tell you what I've heard or been told. I don't know this for myself, don't know if it's factually true. But I was told by someone that prominent former athlete, I'll just leave it at that, that Lamar Jackson is actually bothered with Ryan Clark's shtick. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Lamar loves it. Maybe he wants Ryan Clark to be his Shannon Sharp as Shannon Sharp was to LeBron James. But maybe he doesn't, because Lamar, to me, seems very, very likable. And again, I said it earlier this week, he's like in that Michael Jordan lane where everybody would like Lamar. And the only thing standing between that, to me, is Ryan Clark and a handful of Jamel Hill, a few other racial idolaters that are framing up the Lamar Jackson thing in these racial terms. I was told by someone who feels like they know that Lamar Jackson is bothered by it. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think that Lamar Jackson is a guy that can be disliked, okay? I think that Lamar's personality is too good. Yes, you guys could probably talk about his game, him being 3-5 in the playoffs, but let's be honest, like I said before, these type of things do in fact happen, and football for the most part is a team sport. However, if Ryan Clark and Lamar Jackson were to have a conversation, or the Jamel Hills were actually to sit down and have a conversation, I believe that it would do wonders for Lamar Jackson if Lamar Jackson came out and said, dude, you need to just shut your freaking trap. You don't know a damn thing about this sport. You ain't playing this sport nowadays. And everybody out there believes that you just hate white. But still, the point is this here. I actually would love to see Lamar have a sit down with Ryan Clark and tell him point blank to his face, dude, shut the hell up. You ain't playing no damn more. Keep your mouth closed. You running your mouth is hurting me. It's also making people, fans of mine, question whether they're really and truly fans of mine, or they even truly like me, or they want to like me, or root for me going forward. So, while, yeah, it's possible that Lamar Jackson is finding out exactly what's being said about him on ESPN by Ryan Clark, the pro-Lamar narrative, I don't think that Lamar is like LeBron James. LeBron James actually liked Shannon Sharp putting his lips around his every day. I don't think Lamar is that way. I think Lamar is a little bit up on that, and he probably knows how it looks. But like I said, there's still more from this story to actually talk about and cover. But I don't think Lamar Jackson's popularity can be hurt by this, but I think it actually only go up higher if he does, in fact, have a sit down with Ryan Clark and say, dude, you need to keep your mouth shut, keep my name out of your mouth for a little while, or tone it the hell down. Still, though, I did tell you guys it was going to be some updates, so let me go ahead. Next week, I'm going to be having surgery on my leg. I'm probably going to be in the hospital. The doctor told me to expect to be there 2 to 3 days. I'm guessing that, okay, I go up there on Monday. I have the surgery on Tuesday recovery, Wednesday recovery, Thursday more than likely recovery. I may be back home on Friday, or I may even be back home on Thursday. So obviously I'm not going to be here. So the content that you do see, which is not going to be that much, but I'm going to try to get as much of it as I can. It's going to be about one a day. I'm going to change the time to about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock posting every day. Of course, I got to post these videos out, and I got to tag all that stuff there. But still, at the same time, though, there should be content on this channel next week. Also, to go on top of that, I'm going to be reopening up the community tab once again. For some odd reason, I'm very inconsistent about it, because when I post something on the community tab, it just doesn't travel for some odd reason. Like, it never gets to you guys. I don't know what it is. But still, though, the point is this right here. There will be content out next week. All right, so this weekend, I'm going to try to get some content out as well. Like, for example, the video that I have on the Marcellus Wiley, Ryan Clark beef, which you may have already seen, because I did say this same clip would be in that video there too. The only way it would not be in that video is if I accidentally delete this right here like an idiot. But still, though, the point is this here. There should be content out next week. I'm going to be out the entire week, but content should still, in fact, exist. But it will be content that was obviously recorded over the weekend. Just giving you guys the heads up. Make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section, cut the notifications on, and I'll see you guys later.